proud of our football team getting a win tonight. You know, really good job by our defense creating a lot of turnovers and, kind of I thought that was kind of the tell of the game there, getting those turnovers and being able to capitalize some points off of that. Did a good job in the red zone capitalizing on those opportunities that we had. Thought we ran the ball a little bit better in the first half and the last couple of weeks and found some good balance there, supplemented by Tucker running the ball there a little bit with his legs. And just kind of a weird game. Like field position was kind of always, in our favor. And, when that happens, it, sometimes can turn into a one-sided game. So, on to the next one here as we move forward. So that being said, I'll take your questions.
Yeah, I mean, just what do you think defensively, kind of this constant pressure? I know it was the first career start for the quarterback.
Yeah.
They really harassed them and kind of took it to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, sometimes we always judge, affecting the quarterback by sacks, and I think that's only a little small piece of the story, right? I mean, can he disrupt? Can you get him off his spot? Can you get him off rhythm? In the right way, can you hit him and disrupt him and try to make him uncomfortable? And I thought we were able to do that right from the start of the game. And I thought our defensive ends did a good job collapsing the pocket into the lap sometimes the D tackles. And then when the ball got out to the edge, we did a good job tackling and getting on the ground.
And you always talk about the points off the turnover.
Yeah.
It's not just turnovers. We scored 20 points off of
Yeah.
turnovers. How well do you think the offense did?
Yeah, I think huge, and I really would be more specific in the sense of right at the end of the second quarter was that 4-minute stretch there is Nasir's touchdown, and then they give it to us again there, and we get able to get a field goal. That's a huge momentum boost there, especially when you get the possession coming out of the second half. So, points off turnovers as you mentioned, we do talk about that often, and to be able to capitalize when you have those opportunities, I think that's really big.
What did it mean to you to see Nasir get that pick six? I saw you on the sidelines get kind of really hyped.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I poked at him a little bit last week when he got his interception last week. He didn't get into the end zone, and I say that in a joking manner because he's really good with the ball in his hands. He's a great punt returner in high school, and had a lot of clips on his high school highlight tape when he had the ball in his hands and did some special things. So when I saw him cut back, I figured that was going to be the case, and he would make sure he let me know about it, and he certainly did. So.
What did you also see from Jaden Dotton that kind of gave you the trust to put him out there as a safety today when you guys needed some depth?
Yeah, I think it's just like I told the team downstairs. I think that every athlete's, biggest struggle is if I'm going to be selfish or selfless. And, it's a great example of a guy, doing what's best for the team in a scenario. And honestly, to his credit, that was his idea. Obviously we've dealt with a ton of injuries here this year, more uncharacteristic than years past, and we lost a lot in the secondary last year. To graduation. That the guys that are pros, those get all the attention, but in that mix is a couple safeties that had 60 career starts. So and then you lose Jadarius Perkins, you lose Andre Fuller, you lose Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Like those are three really good players that they're done for the year. I mean, you got to find a way, and credit for him to put the time and effort in to go in and even have a chance to know what to do, not alone go do it well. Really proud of him, and really that's a real good teachable moment for our whole team to see that, and that's something really cool that sometimes doesn't get highlighted in sports.
You had all 5 offensive line starters tonight, and in the first half, you guys ran the ball really well, had a lot of big play, chunk play runs. How important do you think that was?
Well, I mean, again, we only have 10 games of these guys together, and they're if you played them all, which none of them have, like you only have 10 starts. And we started the season with nobody having any starts on that unit. So the longer they play, the more they play together, the better it should look. We've dealt with some tough patches through the year, and obviously I think Tucker's his ability to help supplement that tonight was huge, and keep the defense honest, make one extra guy play, and respect the quarterback run, and and really honestly, even the play down in the goal line area where we pulled the ball and we put the ball on the ground, like that does send a message to the defense in the sense of like you have to have somebody account for that guy, and when that's the case, you have one-on-one blocks and you have a chance to open up some run seams, and we were able to do that.
To piggyback off that, those runs too. I mean, he was pretty physical with those touchdown runs as well. So what does that say about him? With
competitor. I mean, tough guy. I mean, he's a tough kid. Football player first. I mean, you talk about selfless. I mean, this is a guy last year that was asking me to go in and play tight end. I mean, so wants to be out there, wants to be involved, and I think gets going in the flow of the game when he's in the flow and in the moment. And any really good football player wants to feel he wants to tackle or he wants to get tackled if he plays on offense. He wants to be in the game and. That's hard sometimes with the quarterback because you want to keep him healthy, you want to keep him upright. But, we kind of made it a point that we were going to use his legs here a little bit tonight, and it got us going early on and a couple big runs in the first drive there.
Do you feel that this as a complete game as the team has played this year?
Well, I mean, I think it's just a different game. I mean, statistically, I thought we were better in conversion downs tonight, better on third down. Obviously, the situational things that we harp upon and that we think are very important, we were good in those areas, and Central did a good job keeping everything in front of them. Didn't let the explosive play and the ball go flying over top of their head, and they pride themselves on that. So there wasn't a ton of yardage that way from the offensive standpoint. And I think obviously the turnovers the short fields have a big to do with that too. But I think I said I'm really proud of our team, and these games don't get any easier as you progress into November. So hopefully we're starting to hit stride here.
I know you guys are coming off of like a longer break, but is it also nice to kind of have a game where, in November at this point of the season where you can like get some of your depth players, like those extra reps through an action play?
Yes and no. I mean, I think it's positive because you want young guys to be in there and you want them to have the experience. But I think there's also there's a little bit of a downside to that too, in the sense of, back to Kyle's question of the offensive line playing together. Like, they just haven't had a lot of snaps together. So, you want to keep them in there if you can, and our good players want to play too. You know what I mean? Starters. I mean, they've earned the right to be a starter, and you want to have opportunities for young guys to get experience and get valuable learning time. But also, these guys all practice hard all week long. They want to play the whole game. So sometimes that's a tough conversation to have.
You talked about Central's turnovers. You guys had 0 tonight. How nice was it just to kind of have a clean game? I know there was the one fumble, but you recovered it. But
Yeah.
To not hand the ball to them after.
Well, I mean, we're a pretty good team. We don't turn it over. I mean, that goes back every game that I've been the head coach here. I mean, you could look at that winning percentage is pretty impressive when that happens. And guess what? Every other coach's winning percentage is probably the same. So that's a big deal. I mean, you can't give the other team the ball, especially in short fields, over and over and over again. When that happens, that's a recipe for disaster. So. Great to be on the plus side of that. And like I said, our defense did a great job of creating them. And I think credit our kids for taking care of the ball.
This is a nice birthday present.
Next question.